Keep redefining yourself. Nothing is permanent.
Stop and feel.
The seasons where we are not thriving are almost more important than the seasons where we are.
You have to unbecome what your parents, your teachers, your friends told you are supposed to be.
To live every day as the miraculous gift that it was.
It's not okay not to do stuff. It's not okay to hide behind.
You know, while you were failing, the rest of us were all just still sleeping.
I am joy. Joy is not outside of me.
Hold on to the dream, let go of the timeline.
Sometimes like the release of letting go of those icky emotions is just understanding why you felt them in the first place.
If you feel really, really passionate about doing more than one thing, do more than one thing.
When you have that connection with yourself from the inside out, body language stuff falls right into place.
Words and our language are the ones and zeros that we're using to program our mind.
Our bodies are our vessels, and when we come back into our home, we start to feel that sense of alignment.
What's your why? What's your why? Because that's why that's why we all do what we do.
The more you focus on what it is that you really love, more that elevates how you perform it.
We're all inherently worthy from birth.
Everyone is intuitive, and so many people have no idea.
The game I'm playing is this is the best.
Get ready to love everything I am. All I want to be and understand. 'Cause I won't dim my light for no one.
Welcome to Popular, the show that will finally help you be seen and heard, because it's time that you made an impact with your voice. Your voice matters. It's time for you to be seen and heard, and for you to make the difference in the world that you've always wanted to. I'm Carolee Garrison, and I'm here to interview experts on publicity, mindset, leadership, and more, so that we can all discover how we can become our most magnetic selves. At its core, Popular is about knowing your worth, owning your unique superpowers, and using your gifts to make a difference in this world. What it comes down to is that if you are looking outside of yourself to feel important, it will never be enough. This is a journey of discovering your magnetic confidence from the inside out. Welcome to Popular. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the Popular Podcast. I'm just over the moon excited for this year, for everything that 2025 is just destined to bring us. So many good things. But before we really dive into this year, I actually have one more amazing compilation episode of all of the best advice from 2024. Hold on, I gotta find all my notes. Wait, I gotta find the right screen. Okay, so in this episode, we have Elizabeth Tiglao-Guss, and she's talking about awareness and redefining yourself. Jenny Cheifetz talking about intention and where do we feel inspiration in our bodies. Desiree Probolski is talking about seasons of survival and how they are our greatest lessons. Claudia Noriega-Bernstein is talking about how we unbecome the supposed tos in our lives and how we belong to ourselves. Amanda Ferrin talks about miracles and how we live every day to the greatest extent possible. Amy Kokoles is talking about how it's not okay to hide, how we need to just be. Andrea Trenholm is talking about how we pause, notice, and choose. Stacy Townsend is talking about how we are joy, how we can fully embrace that. Sarah Fui is talking about how we hold on to the dream but let go of the timeline. Maren Swenson talks about feel your feelings. Brittany Miller talks about how we can do more than one thing. Sarah Godfrey talks about connecting with your body. Dana Schmit talks about leveraging your words to leverage your life. Amber Susa talks about coming home to yourself. Jennifer Rogers Markwell talks about what is your why. Renee Bova talks about focusing on what you love. Ariel and Theresa talk about stopping self-abandonment and knowing your worth. Victoria Fontana talks about how we are all intuitive. And Robyn Cohen talks about how fulfillment is in this exact moment. If you just are so incredibly in love with these women, please go check out their individual episodes from the second half of 2024 because they are all so brilliant and inspirational. You will just eat up their every word. I just know it. Love you all so much.
Awareness is half the battle.
Yeah.
Once you get the awareness, then the rest of it kind of just flows because you have it inside of you. You get to see it for yourself. And then you get to pull out that strength that you already have it in you. Yeah. And you get to do all of these things. You get to create your life. And it's so easy to get caught up with just all the, the victimhood and all the feelings. I mean, you honor your feelings, but then slowly, okay, what do we do next? How do we get out of this? And how do we really live the life that we want? Like, what do you want in your life? And just work on that. Like you said, we get to do this. You get to define and keep redefining yourself. Nothing is permanent. So even if you choose one path and then 6 months later, you're like, I'm not really happy with that, then go find another path. You always have a choice. And you get to just keep redefining, even if that means every month you redefine yourself, so be it. As long as it gives you that alignment in your heart and in your soul. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
It's all about intention. I was so disconnected from my body for so many years. So when I started doing the journaling and the meditation, I was getting in touch with, the chakras and the, really feeling, where do I, when you said, listen to your heart, a lot of it for me was the gut. Yeah. That was kind of my fire center. Yeah. And, where do I feel this? It's like letting yourself answer. It's that same idea of where do I feel that answer in my body? Is my heart lighting up? Is my throat closing? Just stop and feel.
The opposite of living is not dying. The opposite of living is surviving. And because now you're not even present anymore, you're just surviving. Everything goes into that. We have these seasons, right? And not, like I said, not every season is for survival. But I'm in a season where I'm seeing that everything makes sense and that it was all so important. And so the seasons where we are not thriving are almost more important than the seasons where we are. Because when you are in the trenches is when you are getting either the biggest lessons or the biggest, or what will become the biggest lessons to others and to your life. And those are going to be what define the depths of your life.
We push that person that we are in reality. I always talk about unbecoming, and I talk to my clients a lot about unbecoming, because you have to unbecome what the universe, in the world, the society, your parents, your teachers, your friends told you you are supposed to be. And when you do that, at some point you are not happy in your own skin because you're not aligned with your soul. You don't know who you really are, and there is something missing and you don't know what it is. And it's as simple as going back to basics and say, wait, who is this person and who am I? And how can I come back to my core, to my roots, and blossom from there, instead of trying to become somebody that I'm not just because I want to fit in, There is nothing more beautiful than the feeling of belonging. And when we are trying to fit in, we go far from who we are. Yeah. Because it's like an onion, you keep peeling those layers and layers and layers, and you cannot do that work on your own. That's what coaches are there, they give you the tools, and so that feeling of wanting to be wanted is not as important when we love ourselves.
I really made a decision that if I had one more day or one more week or however long I had left, I would choose to live every day as the miraculous gift that it was. And I think it's just a really good reminder that sometimes we are looking toward a miracle to fix something that we know is broken. But sometimes we are living out a miracle and a miracle story, and things are coming together for us when we don't even realize that things are broken. And it gives me hope to just keep walking in faith and to keep taking each step forward, because we don't know what we're taking a step into. And so rather than walk in fear, I believe we can walk in faith, knowing that it's all already going to work out. It may not look like we thought it was going to, and it may not be comfortable, and we may have a little bit of pneumonia, but we may survive beyond what we ever thought we had set against us.
Honestly, what it came down to is me feeling comfortable with myself and being like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay to screw up, but it's not okay not to do stuff. It's not okay to hide behind anymore and not be seen. Why are you playing small? Why don't you see your beautiful bright light, your beautiful self? I'm like, I don't know why. And you slow down long enough to listen to it, and you go on your path, right? And the magic that opens up when you say yes, and just everything unfolding. And I sit outside quite often, and I'm like, okay, God, universe, whoever you want to call, what do you got next? What do you got for me? I'm ready. The answer is yes.
The only thing I have control over in this moment is myself. It gave me the ability to pause, notice, and choose how I was going to respond to them. And I mean, that sounds really simple, and some days it works great like that, and some days it still is like, okay, now my volcano's going because I've asked you 10 times to do this one thing and you're still not doing it, right? Sometimes it's a daily work in progress, but that ability to like have the pause, notice, and choose, like, it was so big. But then it also started spurring for me, like, all right, what I recognized that I was still a little depleted. Like, I was doing all the work and I was doing all the things for the family, but I wasn't doing the things like just for me, like other things other than this, like having a morning routine and doing the meditations. I wasn't doing stuff just for me, and it was a big difference. It was a really awful, visceral feeling, and I was like, man, and I felt like I was really failing that day. And I remember friends being like, you know, while you were failing, the rest of us were all just still sleeping. Like, we weren't even trying. And then I was like, okay, there's something to be said. Like, I felt like I had just one foot in that world. And then other people in the club, they started saying, you know what, that panic attack in the water, it happens to everybody. It even happens to people when they're doing the Ironman. And I was like, what? Like, it made me feel a little bit more in that world. And honestly, like, you know, they say that the influence that you get from the people that you hang out with, like, all of a sudden I was in this world with, like, I felt like a very average mom just trying to get shape, but I just had set this lofty goal for myself. And all of a sudden I was like in the pool with people that were training to do Ironmans and had already done them before. And it kind of changed everything for me.
But when I discovered that, right, that inner joy, you know, the lens that you see the world through, everything changed. Because the new lens, I saw everything through, I am joy. Joy is not outside of me. It's I am joy. So irrespective of external conditions, which will always be favorable, unfavorable, right? The conditions that exist outside of ourselves. But I am joy. I get to choose. That's where it all starts. And then once you realize that, everything from all of who we are, right? We are our values. We are what's important to us. So I am, for instance, I am fun. I am connection. I am adventure. You know, when we make a story about something and we're resisting and we're struggling with it, this story becomes so real, right? It becomes so tangible and real, and it sits right in front of us. And we see our entire world through that struggle. Once you discover this, it's life-changing. Like it's completely life-changing because everything is the meaning we give it.
Yes.
And give it a better meaning. If everything is the meaning we give it, why not give it a meaning that serves us, that works for us? Yes, there are some universal truths, laws, gravity, right? And we also believe things like the law of resonance. And so as everything is the meaning we give it a good meaning.
Hold on to the dream, let go of the timeline, because we get so caught up in like, I'm going to do, and like deadlines, timelines are so good for goal setting so that you try, right? Because otherwise you're not going to take massive action if you don't have that pressured timeline. But then when things don't turn out the way you expected, because so many things are out of our hands, we do, and then it's like leave it up to others or the universe or God to like, create that path. And we have to surrender to, okay, the timeline isn't what I thought it was. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? Don't let go of the dream, let go of the timeline.
And there's like a real beauty in accepting all that inside yourself too, and all your feelings and sitting with them. I've had to like get so comfortable letting the thoughts and feelings I have come up and actually like entertain it for a minute, so that I can dive in and figure out why I'm feeling the way I am, rather than like the stuff down or the avoidance or push it away. It just turns into like resentment and unfulfillment. But there's like such a huge power in just being aware of it too. Sometimes like the quote cure or the release of letting go of those icky emotions is just understanding why you felt them in the first place. And it has nothing to do with having to change anyone or anything. It's more just like, oh, this is actually why I'm upset. And now I know. And it does. It's giving voice to it or something, and it can move up and out of your body. It doesn't mean that you might not be triggered or feel it occasionally again, but there is something to be said for the movement of it, of just understanding. So that it requires such a hard look at yourself. Growth, expansion, love, like life is so beautiful. It's such a gift.
If you feel really, really passionate about doing more than one thing, do more than one thing because it works and it is possible, and that's totally okay. And I think the other kind of piece of it too is, as moms, we feel that and business owners, we feel like we have a lot on our plate already. So when someone's like, start an email list or start a podcast, before we even really figure out what that looks like, we're just like, no, like I'm at capacity. But sometimes adding more actually subtracts from some of the areas that you're already doing. So we talked about how it makes it easier. Most people don't see that big picture. So sometimes we just kind of need to take a step back and evaluate and be like, okay, I understand that I feel like I'm at capacity, but will doing this thing bring me joy? And I think that's a big thing too, is we have this creative idea, but then we get in our own heads and we start listening to all of those little voices inside our heads that are replicating opinions and thoughts and feelings that other people are having or sharing with us. And we absorb that energy, and then we start second guessing ourselves, and we wait and we pause and we don't do the thing. Whereas for me, that's bad, because by putting it off, I've now like made this 10-minute task seem like it's going to take 7 hours. And then I was like, I sit down to do it finally 4 months later, and I was like, shit, I should have done this 4 months ago, and X, Y, and Z probably would have happened by now if I had just spent 5 minutes instead of thinking about this and letting all of those like little voices tell me to know. So that's one of the things I'm really working on this year, is like when I have an idea, I'm like, okay, cool, and we're doing it now. Staying in the flow, do it messy.
Like I always start with getting people in tune with their bodies. Yeah, because what often happens, this is the thing, like I have this thing with a lot of pop culture body language stuff. It's something that they're like, do this, and it's just something that you put on from the outside rather than like your inner state. And there's a way of doing both at the same time, which I work with people on. But when you have that connection with yourself from the inside out, a lot of times body language stuff falls right into place. And so it's learning, first of all, how to really be grounded and centered in the sensations in your body, in being aware of how you feel, being aware of your inner state and how to shift your inner state. That's what I always start with. Have you ever seen a picture of the nervous system before?
Probably.
So you have like your brain, right? But the nervous system is also all of the little branches that go off of it. It looks like a really weird plant with this extensive root system. And so often we attack things and we're like, it's just in my mind. Like, I just have to get my thoughts right. But when you look at that picture of the nervous system, you have to remember, like, if I were to be pulling up a weed, I wouldn't just go for the top of it. You know, I'm like, I gotta get the roots changed too. And so you have to remember that your brain is part of your body, first of all. It's part of it. And second of all, that your body is also part of your brain when you think about that root system. And so when you really want to change, why not just attack like the whole thing? Your body, your brain, everything.
The energetic feeling behind the words is so important. And we learn so much about words in school, right? We learn how to dissect sentences or diagram sentences. We learn about grammar. We don't learn about how our language impacts our imagination, our emotion, our breath patterns, our posture, and our reality. Understanding that our words and our language are the ones and zeros that we're using to program our mind to show us the reality that we want to see. So when we say something like, how am I ever going to get over this? What are you giving your mind to do? Your mind is like, you're not getting over it. I'll show you all the ways, you know, or like nothing ever works out for me. Nope, I'm going to show you all the ways things don't work out for me or for you. Our mind is so literal. We are meaning-making machines, and your mind is like, let me do that for you, and our minds are so efficient. So leveraging our words to leverage our mind is the way to experience so much freedom.
Anytime I'm feeling like out of alignment or in fear, I put on the music and I start to move my body and I come back. Like you just said, I come back home. That's exactly for me what dance does. It brings me back home. And I'm like, oh, there you are. Here we are. Here I am. Right? And that can be for anybody. Like you don't have to be a quote unquote dancer. If, you know, our bodies are our vessels. And when we come back into our home, into the vessel, that is our home, right? Essentially for our soul, we start to feel that sense of alignment and that peace and that calm. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to go teach a class and I show up in one state and I leave in a completely different state because I have returned home. And it doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long. It's unbelievable. Put on the music, move the body, touch my body, breathe. What was one of the things that you loved to do as a child? Because I know that every child has something that feels natural, that makes them feel the most like themselves. And then we are kind of conditioned out of that because oftentimes it's not perceived as something that would be realistic or practical to do for a living, or it doesn't fit into the scheme of adulting, right? And so people put it on the back burner.
Just being open and again, being heart-centric to kind of go with that river and see where it takes you is so awesome. So awesome. What's your why? What's your why? Because that's why we're, you know, that's why we all do what we do to a certain extent. And that's what makes us tick.
The more you focus on what it is that you really love, the more that elevates how you perform it. When you listen to music, they did these brain spect images, and it shows how the brain just really lights up. Listening to music, you know, think about that, going to concerts, listening to a performance, whatever. But when you actually sing, And it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. When you sing or hum, when you're meditating, or, just letting your voice out, the brain lights up on fire with these brain spect images. So there's really something about using that throat to open up the brain. And I'm all in on me. Bad things happen to good people, right? And I had a choice. I could stay stuck in my misery and grief. And I'm not saying that you don't have to grieve the grief, because you do. You have to go through the darkness to get to the other side, but I don't want to stay stuck there. I know my time in this dimension, this world, is finite, so I want to live my best, most fulfilled, abundant, grateful life.
We learn to self-abandon, right? We self-abandon ourselves, what we want, what we think is right, what we love, what we're passionate about. We abandon ourselves to keep that, outward appearance first and foremost. And
that status quo.
And then we wonder why we feel sad and depressed and overwhelmed, because we're not living who we are. We work at keeping this facade up all the time. But now that we have a little more understanding and knowledge, right, we can move forward. Today is a new day. We start in the present and we move forward with the new knowledge.
We're all inherently worthy from birth. And we just forget that. It's kind of like this, we've been thrown, all this crap has been thrown on us. You're unworthy, you're this, you're that, right? And it's just like this shedding that needs to happen to come back to our true selves.
It's like an onion, right? We've got this big, huge onion, and we have to start peeling back those layers to find out the beliefs that I have about myself, where do they come from?
And are they true or not?
And yes, are they true? And again, how Ariel said, right, when we're little, this is where this is all created. So we have to go back there and look at it from an adult point of view. Oh, I thought that way because of this, but now I can see as an adult, that's not true. And so now I can program in a new program that takes me out of that self-worth and self-abandoning feelings and start growing that worth in me.
Everyone is intuitive, and so many people have no idea. We have answers that no one has told us before, and let's just take a moment and sit with that. It's the stories that we will start to see once we calm our nervous system and allow ourselves the space for ourselves to drop in. That is what intuition is. I call it our highest intelligence, because it is the intelligence that goes beyond our mind, and depending on where you're coming from in your belief and understanding, it could transcend lifetimes. So when you can get into your energy, synchronicities happen, and it's sort of like, it feels magical, but really it's just our birthright. Living in this higher vibrational state is really the way that we're supposed to be.
It's all about loving on people, seeing people, feeling other human beings, and just reveling in the connectivity that can happen between human beings. Again, whether we're in cyberspace or on stage, that possibility exists to the end in these worlds. The phenomena of continuing to be with what's so, which is to say, when I am present, I am dealing with what's so. I'm not using energy to push stuff down, to waylay it, to repress. It's just going to come out later anyway. I'm literally metabolizing life as it comes, so that you can be present. I am functioning from a space of letting go and letting it all sort of come through, and then knowing that, knowing with my body that it's all okay. It all works out. And the fulfillment is in the moment.
fulfillment of the creation. It's in the fulfillment these days is in the beautiful drive toward Pasadena to show up to a theater where there's a wonderful casting director, a fantastic director, and their intern who are going to watch me perform at a 1:15, that's the time of the appointment, matinee performance of fill in the blank, whatever I'm auditioning for. And the joy now is putting myself so fully in that experience of appreciation for exactly the way that it is and exactly the way that it's not, that I've already won. The job and getting anything is secondary. That right now my allegiance is to the fulfillment of the moment. What is my intention? What is the game I'm playing? And the game I'm playing is this is the best. Whatever is happening, this is going to be. It's just what's happening right now with you, Carolee. This is going to be the best. And that intention is set. And then it's simply about the moment by moment dropping into the phenomena that we're even alive, that we can even have this connection, that we can even be on two computers from around the country, having this much love and inspiration and connection. And that goes back to just getting present. And when I really do get present, I am knocked back by the magnitude of what is available in this moment.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Popular, your key to magnetic confidence. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend, someone who needs to know how much their voice matters. For more information on booking private sessions with me, as well as my available courses, check out caroleegarrison.com. Remember, when you know your true value, you glow from the inside out. Tune in next week for another reminder of just how amazing you really are.